Okay, once again, my friends, shocker du jour, we have gone way past the point of understanding that geology is biology exactly as it was written in the ancient texts. I don't care what anybody says anymore. We have the evidence to support all that. Now, the things that are in space are also body parts, no question about that either. And what was written about that? Did some ancient texts refer to actual giant creatures battling in the heavens? Yes, many ancient texts. Now, I have the actual evidence to show. They weren't kidding around. That is a finger. That is a finger. It's called Comet Umaru. Avi Loeb from Harvard says it could be a spaceship. It is a finger. I have had this and discussed this with probably the top anatomist in the world, as far as I'm concerned. He's an autopsy anatomist, and he said that's, his exact words were, that's the fingeriest finger I've ever seen. And it is a finger. And this is the tendinous material. That's the apical tuft. This is the grip skin on the outside. This is the vein and the artery here. These are the tendons that wrap across the knuckle. This is the joint right here. That is a finger, my friends. And I have many, I actually have asked meteorites right here. I have at least a half a dozen of them that I can show you that are biological. And they came through space, no question about it. And this is Comet 67P. Let me show you the close-ups of this. There's no mistaking that it's a body part from an enormous giant. And this was all written about in the ancient text. It's time that we re-examine them. They may be silly, crazy people that wrote all this everywhere in the world about dragons and giants and monsters and gods, battles in the heavens. They all wrote the same thing, so maybe they were all crazy. I don't think so. All right, so once I discovered the mud fossils, and I discovered they were giants, and then I had them DNA tested and all of the rest, and they were absolutely, no question whatsoever, giant human beings. I started examining everything, and when I found there was nothing I couldn't say was biology, because they were all biological. And I have meteorites right here. There's a little iron lung meteorite, and here's a bigger iron meteorite, stony. And this one here is actually a lung. And I have other ones. This here is another one that came through space. It's a stony meteorite. And that actually is, I know what it is. It's a body part. And all these are too. This is Comet 67P. You see this right here? That's what Comet 67P is. This piece here broken off right about there. It still has some tendon, and it might even have a little piece of muscle left on it. And here's what it looks like up close. Right here. Okay, don't forget, this is what we're looking at. There's the head. There's a bundle of tissue, whatever it is. I'm not sure whether it's muscle or it's tendon, but I believe it's I don't know. You got to be honest with you. It could be either way, but let's just say it's muscle. I don't care, because all of this stuff is red, little bloody, dusty stuff, and you don't get red blood out of tendon. Tendon is almost no blood in tendon. So I would say that this is leaked out its blood, and it is primarily a muscle. Now, and then of course that's the head. And then going down this way, it tips over and broke off. So let's see what it looks like from a different view. There it is right there. There's the ball, there's the shaft, and then this is where it goes across, and they break off in a number of different ways. This is how they break, like this. Some break way up here, some break even way up here. This one seemed to have broken way up here somewhere. And that's what they were. And they are in the hip joint of a human being. Now, I don't know where that came from. I can't make any determination other than the fact that it is basically that. You see that? That's that. There's no difference. It is the same. Now, that has to have blood. Well, let's see if we can find the blood. Well, this goes back 10 years ago almost. And this is comet 67P. What is this? The hell's going on there? And what is this? What's going on there? Shooting this way and that way and up way, this way, this way, this way. What's going on? I can tell you precisely what's going on. There is still wet, red blood inside these cavities. And what cavities are you talking about, Roger? Well, that one's an artery. That's why it's so huge. And why is it shooting out like that? It's being cooked. It's just like a gas grill shooting out its gases as it's cooked way down deep inside that huge artery. And I will show you that in detail, uno momento. So there's the artery. These are blood vessels. Blood vessel, blood vessel, blood vessel, blood vessel, all everywhere, because everything has to be fed with blood, every single cell in your body. So you get a big main supply, and then it branches off into the little ones. The astronauts, when they go back in after a spacewalk, they take their suits off, and they go, boy, my suit smells like steak. That's because this is nothing more than the metals and the steak juices of blood boiling off. They say it smells like steak, welding rods, and now all of that is metals. Metals are primarily what's in your blood. The amount of metals in your blood you couldn't even imagine. All the way up to uranium and everything is in your blood. My blood too, I hope. So this is the artery. These are the little blood vessels, the tiny ones. Now, let's take another look. You see how big this thing is? This is Raleigh, North Carolina. That's, that's a fairly good-sized creature. Now, they all had the same stories. They all had the stories of they were just absolute enormous giants battling in the heavens. Now, we always took that as just silly, they were just trying to scare kids or something. But no, that's in the heavens, and so is Asteroid Benu, which is a heart. They retrieved a sample, brought it back here. I know exactly what it is. It has 2 layers of phosphates, which are membranes, and in between it has muscle sarcomeres. No question whatsoever. And I predicted this before they even came back with it, and it's here now, and it is exactly what I predicted. And they're talking about taking years to sample it, and there'll be papers written for the next 20 years about this. No. All you got to do is look at it. There's no doubt what it is. And everything in space that I have found, Maro, Comet 67P, all of them, 100%. And the only reason they smoke off, and they're smoke, it's not dust, when they approach the sun is because at a certain point close enough to the sun, the rays are so brilliant that it just cooks it like a microwave oven. Only it's ionization, it's a little different. Microwave is just vibrating of the hydrogens and the water molecules. This is actually vaporizing, just exactly like overheating a steak and burning it and cooking it. And then it burns it off, only there's no oxygen up there to be fire. All right, I showed you Comet 67P. Oumuamua is an excellent case because this is what's called grip skin. You see how it's peeling back here? That is an apical tuft, which is, I have them here. Here's one right here. All right, and all the little tendons come up here and they lock in. You see that strap? They lock right into that, and they come down here as a strap, and then they flare into little investments here. This right here, that exact line, is the crease right here in your fingertip, in the middle of your finger, that one there. Now, you see coming down here, let me show you something. Every bone, where the tendon came down, it was over the top of this. This is the tendon. It was over the top of that, and then it anchors all into these little holes here. You see how it flares out all over here? It anchors, and the same thing, that's the crease. And the same thing goes this way, that way. Now, the only reason this is green was because I was doing some experiments with copper. But the tendon now would be over the top, which it still is here. And there's where the apical tuft is. So at the very end, at the tip of what they call a distal phalanges, which just means the end of a finger, you have that. And the tendons come up here and they anchor into this ball. Here they're all flared out and they anchor here. Up here they anchor into this ball. It's not unknown. It's quite, it's fully understood. And that crease, and then they go that way, and then over the top of the knuckle, the black is the vein blood. That right there is the artery blood, in my mind, I'm pretty sure. And these are the tendons that wrap right over the top of your knuckles. That's a fingertip. Umaru Umaru, the finger in space. Now I'm going to give you a little anatomy lesson. As I showed you, that is the center of the crease in your finger. Now we're going to go this direction, and we're going to get up to the apical tuft and then the grip skin. You see that? Pay close attention. You see the white? That is the tendon. And right at the very tip, you see that round spot right there and all those little fibers coming out of it? That's this. That's this. All right, now, what's this thing? Why is that all scruffy looking at the end of it? That's what's called grip skin, and it peels back. Boy, it doesn't get any better than this. This is absolutely flawless. That is no question whatsoever. That's the apical tuft. This is the grip skin. The anatomy is just undeniable, absolutely undeniable. And all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, and right at the very bottom is where it goes right over your knuckle. I've had anatomists look at this, there's no question whatsoever, that's a finger. All right, so you saw the grip skin peeling off. Well, what is grip skin? Here's what it is right here. You see this stuff peeling off here? That's grip skin. Well, what is it doing here? That is a gigantic left human hand. It's been DNA tested. You lay your hand back like this, and you have one of these that runs down, which is a tendon, straight down the center of your hand like that. This cleave right here is between the two pads. I have the fingers, I have knuckles, and I've had CAT scans done on the little pieces, DNA tested, human. About 3 feet here, about 4 feet up at the top, something like that. Now, and that's grip skin. You see the silver part? Really tough stuff. Now I have a bigger thing. I have a fingertip that's this wide, or this long. I'll show you that right here. This is the fingertip. And this is the grip skin. It still has the fingernail on it. It's so perfect. I had to smash off a piece here, and that's the piece I broke off. It still has the fingerprints. And that's grip skin, you see here? That's what grip skin is. That's why it's peeling off. It's peeling off Omaru Umaru the same as it peeled off here. I just whacked it and it just popped right off, just like that. That is what popped off, and it still has sweat pores in there and the fingerprints. And it's 3 feet long. Here, I got one better shot, hold on. Okay, this is the fingertip. And from here to there, to the very end, it's 3 feet. All right. This is the little pad that fits in between bones so they don't scrub on each other. You got your blood supplies. This is the actual fingernail. Now take your time to look at it. It's a little bit, eroded right in this area, so you can't see it all that well, but it's coming right up here like this. It's really in good shape. Very, very well kept. And that's the whole fingernail. Now, this piece was on here. When I discovered it, I couldn't get any blood out of it because it's very, very, outside there's no blood. Fingers have a very thick coating of that grip skin on them. And of course, the fingernail, there's no blood on a fingernail. So what I had to do, I decided, well, I'm going to smash into it. So I just figured I'd give it a whack and try to break off a chunk. Well, instead of a chunk, the skin just peeled right off. The skin just peeled right off. I went whack and it went, yep, it pops right off. It freaked me out. And it's just like basically glued on there, just as you saw that grip skin. This thing is absolutely enormous. And there was virtually very good, well, it was excellent quality DNA, they said. And here's what popped off. That's it right there. As a matter of fact, hold on. I got it right here. Oh, here we go. All right, this is this piece right here. I broke some more off so I could do a little more investigation. But that is the giant grip skin. And you see how it's just almost like it was glued on there. There's blood in here, and what was really cool about this is it not only did it come with the skin, a little piece of flesh came up with it. You see how the skin came off? This is all skin. This is all skin. There's nothing but skin here. That's the thickness of the skin. But one little spot came up with a little bit of flesh. You see that red flesh? In the microscope, you can see it very well. But anyway, underneath there was plenty of blood. In the fingertips, toes, and all that, that's the end of your blood supply. But anyway, it has sweat pores in it and everything still. Now, the only problem about that fingertip is I sold that property. This was on my property, and I thought it was still on my property, but it's just like 5 or 10 feet off of my property line. So I have no access to it anymore. But before I sold the property, I had taken that piece off, this piece here. It's still out there. I mean, I can't move it. The damn thing got away. It's 500-600 pounds. It's 3 feet long. And it's like 1 foot, 2 feet. There's I don't know. It's longer than it is wide, and it's 3 feet long. Just go with that. And the grip skin came right off. And I showed you the grip skin. This is what grip skin is. There it is right there, grip skin. And it's heavily keratinized. It's just like having a rubber glove on your, it's on your feet and it's on your hands. I think I've shown enough to present the evidence that the giants are here. And this was DNA tested. This is huge, but this was DNA tested. And this lung here was DNA tested too. And this could be DNA tested too. This came through space. It's a little tiny iron lung, but it's tiny enough that it didn't cook into 100% iron. It cooked up enough to be iron, but not enough to destroy all the DNA. You should have seen the DNA reaction. I mean, the catalase reaction when I put it in there. Oh, whew, I couldn't believe it. It was one of the strongest reactions I've ever seen. I know there has to be DNA inside there. If you cut that down the center, you're going to have literally raw red blood in there. And my other one, well, this one here, came through space. It's a giant fingertip. And it is a fingertip, because here's one, a terrestrial one right here. Identical, no difference whatsoever. This side right here, you see that spot? That's the vein. This is the vein on this one. Vein up here, vein up here. They don't blow out. See the hooks? The hook, the hook. Right, absolutely 100% identical. Blood supply, blood supply, blood supply. Well, these arteries, the veins, they're supposed to come back. This side just blows out because it's all red blood. This was on the earth and just leaked out and flattened out under something, crushing it basically. So the red blood just bubbled right out of the red blood spots. And there's 3 of them, and there's always 3. And this is where the red blood was on this one, but coming through space, it was still wet. It had to be. And the oxygen exploded as it cooked and boiled off, like it just boiled off and exploded out the side. This side didn't, because black blood doesn't boil like the red blood. The red blood boils, and that's red as red gets. This could be easily tested for DNA. It's another giant human being, I believe. It looks like a human fingertip. Again, I think this is a human fingertip too. A little smaller, but and terrestrial, that's through space. That's why it's all blacked up on these spots. And cooked off. And you see even here, look at how perfect that is. That's the implant of one of the tendons. The tendons come up and they lock in to make your finger be able to do all that stuff. There's one here, and the one that was here exploded and blew off. And there's one of the tendon balls right there, you see that? And there's the stalk to the tendon ball, and that wrapped around and went back out. That's why all these little bubbly looking things are there, because those were where the stalks were running. And they bubble off because they have a lot of fluids inside of them. This was wet. It was just soaking wet when it came through and exploded. I have other ones here, meteorites. I have one that's a bone, somewhere, I don't know where it is, and all that turned into the iron was the blood. I don't know, I got so much junk lying around. Anyway, I can't find anything whatsoever that is not biological. At Benu, they have a piece of it here on Earth. Before I show you Benu, this is the Triassic layer. I am in the Triassic zone. I have found no-toe footprints they're different than ours, but not much. And this is a footprint I found right here on my property. This is the red bed, and above that's supposed to be the gray clay, and above that is the black cap. Well, here's what we got. This is the red bed. This is the gray clay, but it's pushed down through the red bed. You see it? This was wet, and the gray clay was wet because the footprint is flawless, and it's pushed down through the red bed, and then the black cap came on top of this. Those are the three layers. But now the gray is pushed down through the red bed. That's not supposed to happen. They had to be wet at the same time. No question whatsoever. Absolutely no question whatsoever. And that's the Triassic. That happened like on a weekend. All right, keep your eye on this now. This is the same as this right here. This is the no-toe. I have that around here. You don't need to see that. This is the black cap that was on top of this. This I found as a single layer, just like this. All right, and this footprint was pressed down. And you can even see the balls of the guy's foot right there. I'm going to show this a little clearer in a second. So what happened? This top piece got pushed down through that bottom piece, which obviously they were wet at the same time. This is extremely red bed, and all it is eroded flesh, which is the red bed, because everything boiled off. Now, on top of that was the gray clay, and you can see quite clearly that right there is the gray clay. You see the gray? Now this right here is the guy's footprint, or his footprint. Yeah, footprint, that works. Now, and this right here was his heel, and right up here was where the balls, oh, shit. Never fails. All right, well, anyway, it didn't break it, I don't think. All right, so anyway, that's the key. This here is the balls of his feet. There's no question. It's a footprint, and I would say no question it's a human footprint or something like that. It could be a no-toe, because I don't see the toes. It could be a no-toe. Now, so what would we expect to find if he pushed that gray clay down through? We see the gray clay underneath the red bed. So the gray clay, and guess what? There it is. That's not supposed to be there. That is not supposed to be there. That's supposed to be red bed because it was pushed down through. You see see it? See the red bed and then the gray clay? That gray clay is supposed to be up here, but it's pushed down through. And this was wet when the guy stepped on it. There's no question it was wet. And there's no question that the red bed was below it, and this gray clay was pushed down, and there's no question that this is basically a human-ish footprint. And this no question, is Triassic area, because you got your red blood, you got your gray K, and you got your black cap. And I am in the most studied Triassic area in the world. It's called the Central Connecticut Basin. And it's known for its red beds, gray clays, and black caps. Triassic signature, but it is worldwide. It just happens that I am in one of the best spots in the world to be able to observe all of this remnants. For some reason, I can't tell you why, but I can go out and find them, dozens and dozens of them in the next hour. I could have coming out of my ears. I have stone walls all around my property. And I just went out and picked them up. I didn't do a lot of digging. It's just I observed what I found, and then I observed more and more and more, and I couldn't find anything that wasn't biology. You know, you cut into it, you can find the veins and arteries. They all had veins and arteries, and they all had blood, and they all had some kind of biological signature of life, an anatomical signature, which I have shown you very, very, very clearly. And there's not an anatomist in the world can stand up and say this isn't true. And I am going to have, within the next couple of hours, I'm going to be talking with one of the top anatomists in the world about this stuff. And he's going to present it to his audience. I was kind of surprised that he was willing to do that, because these are all PhD-ish people. Well, he is. I don't know about the rest of them. And he's a top guy. He's the only guy that knew about fascia when I first started this about 10 years ago or more. Well, it was quite a bit more than that, but I wrote the paper about 10 years ago about all of this, how it all happened, and how you know, what it, at that point I don't know what it means, and I still don't know what it means. Where do they come from? Where do these giants come from? What was this all about? Battles in the heavens. It's all been written about. But before you can even start to get your head around that crazy stuff, you got to get your head around this crazy stuff. And a lot of people just can't do it. Their mind just can't get into that realm of reality. They've been so brainwashed to believe that if a guy's went to some special school, or he's got some special letters in front of his name, then he's the guy to follow. No, I don't go with that. I say follow the evidence. And at this point, we are no longer just mistaken about our past and about all this stuff. It's now turned into deception. And it's the Ivy Leagues that are deceiving everybody and denying us of our rightful understanding of reality. Because they honestly control society now. I don't care what anybody says. If you go against them, they will destroy you. And they'll fail you and then tell everybody you're an idiot because you wouldn't say what they told you to say. And and then even after you get out, if you start talking like I talk, you know, you get put in a box somewhere out in the woods. And that's what happened to me. And happened to everybody. Velikovsky, happened to all of them. Everybody. Tesla. Anybody that comes up with something that goes against the mainstream peer-reviewed, which is racketeering. All it is if you come in here and you start saying things we don't like, we'll break your legs. That's what they used to say. Now they say, we'll fail you. We'll ruin your life. How's that? Same thing. Anyway, I want reality. And I think you do too. I would imagine if you're watching my channel, you want reality. And this is reality. What it means, I am not absolutely certain. I really don't know. But they all said, yes, many ancient texts and mythologies mention battles involving giant beings or deities. Giant beings, often set in the heavens. Here are a few examples. The Mesopotamian myth of Annunaki. In Sumerian and Babylonian mythology, Anunnaki deities that are often described as giant beings. They were believed to have come to Earth from the heavens and were involved in various cosmic battles, including those with other divine entities. So they came in and tried to move into this cosmic realm, is what I'm thinking. The Book of Enoch, yes, miles tall. Ancient Jewish text, not part of the canonical Hebrew Bible, but is included in Christian and Jewish apocryphal collections, mentions the Nephilim. And the Book of Enoch is part of the Ethiopian doctrine. They have it in their true text. And so is the Jubilees. These are things that they said, don't talk about these things that people think you're crazy. And then they're going to think we're crazy talking about God. So they just push them off. So the book of Enoch's out too. And it mentions the Nephilim, described as giants born from the union of divine beings, which were the sons of God, and human women. All right, and that's everywhere. The book of Enoch describes battles between the fallen angels and the heavenly powers. Greek mythology, the gigantomonarchy, famous mythology war between the Olympian gods and the giants, the gigantes, who were enormous beings born from the earth. These battles were said to have taken place after the Titanomachy, the war between the Titans and Olympians, the gods. Gigantomachy represents a struggle for control of the cosmos. They were fighting in the actual heavens. Norse mythology, Azar, gods like Odin, Thor, and others frequently battled the giants who represent primal and chaotic forces. Includes final apocalyptic battle Ragnarok, where giants and gods clash in a cosmic showdown, destroys and eventually renews the world. Did that already happen, or is it going to happen again? The Hindu mythology, every one of them had the same story. They all had the same story, so forget about the rest. They often represent a metaphor. No, not necessarily. It's true. They often represent a truth for the forces of chaos and order, or good and evil. This is where I'm coming down. What is good? What is evil? How do you get to be, eventually you're going to die. I don't care what happens. Your earthly body isn't going to be no longer pumping blood and doing all the stuff it does now. What happens to you, or whatever's spiritual of you, or your soul, or does anything happen? I don't know. These are the kind of things I like to explore and think about and see what the ancient texts had to say. Because now I'm looking at these ancient texts not as just, metaphors and just silly sort of stories, and they all had a little different take on it. Yes, absolutely. But there's a core. And if you get to the core, you'll understand more. You're going to have a better possibility of understanding. Let's go with that. Because even though you get to the core of it, there's different, I believe there were different deities that controlled different areas, like Quetzalcoatl in the Americas, and Typhon wherever he was over in North Africa, and there was different deities around wherever they were, and they controlled different things too. In the ancient texts, they said they controlled the weather, they controlled the rain, they controlled this and that. And can you discount all that stuff anymore? I can't. Not after seeing Typhon. Not after that. If you could discount everything that I just showed you, and then discount Typhon and the fish in the desert, exactly written about in Apollodorus 1.6.3 about Typhon attacking Ares, the fish, who changed himself or herself or whatever into a fish to try to hide from Typhon, and Typhon got it. And I've shown this hundreds of times, and it's so fought against by academia because it proves everything I've been saying, and it proves everything in the ancient texts, and it also gives a wide open door to religion of every sort, of every flavor. Now you can look at it and say, what did they say about this? What religion said what about this? And for right now, I have found that mostly it's the ancient Greek and Egyptian texts and all that stuff that talk about this in a rational manner, not just that the people are crazy, they're all nuts. And that's not the case. Not the case at all. Now, this is how I can prove, and it is already proven. This is Asteroid Benu. They went up and took a sample of that, and it's back here on Earth, and that sample is biology. This is psyche. You see this, the structure of this? You see the structure of that? It's exactly the same. You see that structure of that? Exactly the same. They are hearts. And that's why they're almost all metal. You see here? Psyche, that got smelted somehow. That must have got close to the sun, too close, and cooked to where it turned into a lot of metal on the surface, because it's all blood metals. And this one didn't cook like the other one. And they went up and took a sample, and they have it back here on Earth. And they said, wow, there's a phosphate surprise, and there's muscle sarcomeres in here. I wonder how that happened. Well, muscle is a heart. You see this? This is from a heart. These are the sarcomeres of a heart. These layers are phosphate. Check this out. My wife just sent me this. This is the glass doors here. A bear came up on my deck the other day, right during the day, and my dog was on the other side, and his nose was here, and my dog's nose, they were like this far apart, just the glass. And look at this, they're still active. Look at this. He's up on my deck. My wife's been feeding the birds. He's over there now. That's exactly where he was the other day. My dog was in there going insane, and the bear's just looking at him like, what's the matter with you? I got a fence around the property, but he's got one spot he just breaks through, so I left it sort of so I can fix it up good. Look at this. Wildlife. Okay, so enough for the bears on the deck. Now, as I showed you, these are heart sarcomeres. Those are the muscle sarcomeres in a heart that had suffered a heart attack. That's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be nice and straight, basically like that. And there's a layer of phosphate, which is phosphorus, phospholipid, top and bottom, and then sarcomere in the middle. Now, here's what they came back from Benu with, which is a heart. These are the phosphate layers, one on top, one on the bottom, and in between is this, which is the sarcomeres. This is muscle from a heart, because Benu is a heart. Anybody with any common sense can see it's a heart. That's a heart. That's a heart. That's a heart. Now, if you understand mud fossils, you will understand much easier, because what happens in the mud fossil process is the plumbing that literally glues to the top of the heart just falls off. And mostly. Sometimes they do stay attached, but it's not the common. But I have them here that are still attached, and I have them here that are not attached anymore. Usually this glue right here just gives way, and that falls off, and you end up with this piece here, which is this piece, which is that. That's psyche, that's Benu. Now, I know I've shown this before, but they came back and spent $800 million just for the equipment. That doesn't even account for the launch vehicle and all that stuff. They're into billions of dollars to do this, to see this, and this is biology. So now they got to get past this. They can't study this for years. They're talking about it's going to be years before they have enough papers to understand what they're seeing here. Because this they call the phosphate surprise. Why? You see this? This is with a certain type of lighting that shows the phosphate, which is all the layers of membrane. This is not highlighted in that way. Yeah. Okay, a little more discussion about the bear. They say you can put out the bird feeders, and that's what happened. My wife put out our big bird feeder, and of course he came helped himself. But they claim on the news, they said it's okay to put out your bird feeders now because the bears are all in hibernation. I don't think so. I don't even think this guy hibernates at all. Who knows? Let's get back to this. These are muscle sarcomeres. We spent billions of dollars literally to go out and get this sample, bring it back, and analyze it. And as far as I'm concerned, the analysis is done. Very simple. Heart muscle sarcomeres, membrane. Phosphates, because it's a phospholipid bilayer, 2 layers, they sandwich the sarcomeres. It's just the way it is. It's the way it works, and this is the same sarcomeres in a heart right here on Earth from a guy that had a heart attack. All right, so I think I've shown enough to support my statements that everything in space that I can find is biology. Tomorrow, no question, it's a finger. 67P, they landed a lander on here. It's called a Philae lander. I followed this thing so closely you can't believe it. And they took samples, spectral analysis, all biology, exactly what, and it's all kinds of different iron oxides, which is the states of blood. And this was where that artery was. I think I showed you this, maybe I didn't. That's a gigantic artery, a big blast of gases coming out of there when it was cooking. It's got to hit just right so it gets down in the bottom where all the blood is, and then it blows out like a blowtorch. Now this is a 40-meter distance. There's about 4 of them here. That's 160 meters, approximately 500 feet across. An artery 500 feet across. And that's why you get this. The sun is coming straight down in there, and it's also hitting these here at a certain other time during the day, apparently, and they're cooking. And it's only because of the distance it is from the sun and the direct sunlight hitting into the blood, which makes it cook right out of there. And again, they say it smells like steak. And that's why this is Raleigh, North Carolina. So 500-foot artery is not too hard to imagine. That's the key. This is what we're up against. It's just gigantic creatures who are in space. Every culture said it. And that's a heart. And anybody that knows what a heart looks like, that's a plumbing coming out of a heart. That's a tube. That's a tube. All of these primarily are where blood blew out because it was cooked enough right under the surface to pop. This, you see these little things coming out here? This was where it was glued. It was just glued and it fell off. These are the valves. That's the tendon. That's the muscle. These are the different colors of iron oxides. Nobody can deny any of this. It's undeniable. Totally undeniable. There's a fingertip, grip skin, apical tuft, the joint, tendon investments, the knuckle, tendon straps, vein and artery. I have found nothing, and I have found nothing in space, nothing, zero, that I can't account for. Even the moon. I know what the moon is too. And I will donate my little meteorite here, which is, I know there's going to be blood in there. The catalase reaction I got from this was stunning. Stunning. You know, you see, it's a little iron meteorite. And it's not heavy enough that it cooked up so much that it turned into solid iron or solid metals. The blood just boiled up here and blew out primarily all over the place and cooked off all of the fibers, the white fibers that are normally on lungs. They have just a coating of white fiber. But all the rest is still quite well intact. So anyway, that's what we got. And it's time to address this in an intelligent, rational manner instead of hiding from it and literally deceiving the students now. The students are not being well served. The teachers and professors in universities are fiduciaries. A fiduciary means that you have to act in the best interest of somebody who puts their full faith and trust in you. What does a student do? I give you my full faith and trust. Teach me truth. And they say, here's the truth. And I say, well, what about this? No. We got our own truth. That stuff, forget about it. Yeah, but it's real and it's scientific and it's based in DNA and CAT scans and specimens. Doesn't matter. We make the rules here. Academia, that's it. And if you try to go against them, they'll destroy your life. Simple as that. So it's time to break out of that, you know, enslavement. You see, we're literally enslaved by academia now. It's really tragic. It's just unbelievable how they've gotten away with this for so long. And even in the face of so much evidence, it started back in 1950 with Velikovsky, we're talking 75 years. And my stuff has been 15 years. And, you know, everybody's come up with this and that, and, you know, exciting new brain benefits of eating strawberries. Well, how about brain benefits of reality and truth? That's what I'd like to see. Will it be beneficial? I don't know. Maybe you're just happy, deluded. You know, which I say, PhD, perfectly happy, deluded. And maybe it'll make your life better to be that way, but I don't know. If this is an afterlife, which I believe there is, I think I would want to at least be aware of it, that I could think about it. Make my own determinations. Don't make your determinations for me that I shouldn't be able to know about reality. And that's exactly what's happened now. I'm not kidding you. It is exactly. Don't try to go into reality and speak about it in the classroom. They will destroy your life. All right, I love you all. I just want the truth. I don't want to damage anybody's anything. I don't want to cause any trouble. And I don't want you to think that I'm trying to influence you one way or the other. I just think that until anybody knows about these things, they can't make an honest decision for themselves. They can't say, well, if you don't know something, you can't. How are you going to make any determination about it? You have to examine it. If you don't examine it, you're done. And again, I'm not trying to influence anybody. I have made my decision, and it involves Jesus, and I think he was just as advertised. I think he's just exactly the way he came, and he said, I'm here to warn you people, and you better pay attention. I'm going to speak in parables because you're never going to believe the truth. And when you find out the truth, you will marvel, and you will be astonished, and you will be upset. That's exactly what he said. And he said the earth is a corpse, and we are children of the light. All of these things I have verified. And I think I have been given some kind of divine information to go out and examine this stuff. And because of the messages I got, and I've spoken about them a few times. I'm not going to go into it again now. But I feel like this is my mission. I have to get it accomplished. You have to find out what truth is in reality. Just like God said, I have no greater joy than to see my children walk in truth. And Jesus said there is nothing that was hidden that won't be uncovered. And these are the things I was worried about at first. But then I kept reading those words. There's nothing hidden, there's nothing buried, there's nothing covered that won't be unveiled, or that won't be made public, basically. And that's what I'm doing. And that's all I can do. You make your own determination. I'm not trying to force anybody to believe anything. All right? I love you all.